Whispers in the blizzard. Last winter, my friends and I decided to take a ski trip to a remote mountain resort. We had heard about this place from a friend who raved about the untouched powder and the lack of crowds. We were excited for a weekend of adventure and fun. As we drove up the winding mountain road, snow began to fall heavily. By the time we reached the lodge, it was a full-blown blizzard. The lodge was old, made of dark wood, and looked like something out of a horror movie, but we were too excited to care. Inside, the atmosphere was cozy but eerie. The walls were lined with old photographs of past visitors, all smiling, but somehow their eyes seemed hollow. The lodge owner, a frail old man with a raspy voice, checked us in and warned us to be careful on the slopes. He mentioned something about the mountain being dangerous, but we shrugged it off. Our first day of skiing was perfect. The snow was pristine, and we had the slopes almost to ourselves. But as the day wore on, the weather turned worse. Thick fog rolled in, and the visibility dropped to almost nothing. We decided to head back to the lodge. On our way down, we got separated. I ended up alone, struggling to see through the dense fog. Suddenly, I heard a faint, haunting whisper in the wind. It sent chills down my spine. I thought it was my imagination until I saw a shadowy figure in the distance. I called out, but it didn't respond. Instead, it moved away, disappearing into the fog. By the time I made it back to the lodge, it was nearly dark. My friends were there, looking shaken. They had heard the whispers too, and seen the figure. We tried to laugh it off, but an uneasy feeling hung in the air. That night, we gathered in the lodge's common room, trying to shake off the fear. The power flickered, and the fireplace cast eerie shadows on the walls. One of my friends suggested we tell ghost stories to pass the time. We went around, each sharing a spooky tale, but none of them compared to what we experienced next. As we were about to call it a night, the lodge owner's dog started barking furiously. The old man tried to calm it down, but it wouldn't stop. Suddenly, the dog bolted out the door, disappearing into the night. The owner looked worried and mumbled something about the curse. Curiosity got the better of us, and we pressed him for more information. Reluctantly, he told us about a tragic accident that happened on the mountain years ago. A group of skiers had gone missing in a blizzard. Their bodies never found. Locals believe their spirits hunted the mountain, seeking revenge on anyone who disturbed their rest. We laughed nervously, but sleep didn't come easy that night. The howling wind outside seemed to carry voices, and shadows danced on the walls. In the middle of the night, I woke up to a cold draft and the sound of footsteps. I sat up, heart pounding, but saw nothing. The next morning, we decided to leave early. The blizzard had stopped, but a sense of dread lingered. As we packed, I noticed something chilling. Our skis were covered in handprints, as if someone had desperately clung to them. We hurried to the car, but it wouldn't start. Panic set in as we realized we were stranded. The lodge owner offered us a ride on his snowmobile, but as we headed down the mountain, the whispers started again, louder and more insistent. Halfway down, the snowmobile stalled. The old man looked terrified and muttered a prayer. Suddenly the fog lifted, revealing the shadowy figures standing all around us. Their eyes glowed with an unnatural light, and they began to close in. We bolted, running blindly through the snow. Somehow, we made it back to the lodge, barricading ourselves inside. The whispers grew louder, filling the room with a deafening chorus of agony and anger. Just when we thought it couldn't get worse, the power went out. In the pitch darkness, we heard the footsteps again, this time right outside our door. The doorknob rattled, and we huddled together, praying it would hold. By dawn, the whispers stopped and the fog cleared. We emerged from the lodge, exhausted and terrified. The old man was gone, and so was his dog. We managed to start the car and sped down the mountain, never looking back. To this day, we don't talk about that trip. The memory of those shadowy figures and their haunting whispers still haunts us. We had gone looking for adventure, but what we found was a nightmare we could never forget.